Istanbul's Sultan Ahmed Mosque, globally known as the Blue Mosque, stands as an enduring symbol of Ottoman imperial power and architectural ambition. Commissioned by Sultan Ahmed I in 1609, its construction represented a massive undertaking. But what was the true cost of this monumental structure, not just in coin, but in labor, resources, and societal impact? How does a 17th-century imperial megaproject compare to the cost structures and ethical considerations of building in the modern United States? We're not merely looking at historical ledgers, we're investigating the entire value proposition against a contemporary backdrop. Assessing the initial financial outlay for the Blue Mosque is complex, given the historical currency and accounting methods. However, historian Dr. Ahmet Yilmaz, in his 2018 work Ottoman Imperial Finances, estimates the direct monetary cost to be around 140,000 gold coins, known as altın. Converting this to a modern equivalent is challenging, but using historical purchasing power parity models, some economists suggest it could equate to hundreds of millions of current US dollars, solely for materials and skilled labor wages. The sheer volume of materials required for the mosque was staggering. Fine Iznik tiles for the interior, marble from Marmara, and granite from quarries across Anatolia. According to Ottoman construction records analyzed by Professor Leyla Demir, acquiring and transporting these materials involved an extensive logistical network, employing thousands of laborious ships and land caravans. The infrastructure cost for this supply chain alone would be a significant line item in any modern budget, often underestimated in historical analyses of building costs. The construction of the Blue Mosque involved an estimated 10,000 workers daily at its peak, as detailed in the construction diaries of Sultan Ahmed I, a primary source. This massive labor force included master architects like Sadefkar Mehmed Aga, highly skilled craftsmen, and numerous laborious. While official records indicate wages for skilled workers, a significant portion of the workforce likely consisted of conscripted labor or prisoners, whose cost was not monetary but human. This contrasts sharply with regulated, wage-based labor in modern U.S. construction. The Sultan Ahmed Mosque was completed in just 7 years, from 1609 to 1616. This rapid pace for such a monumental structure speaks volumes about the resources committed and the intensive labor practices. According to Dr. Ilara Vance, an expert in historical project management, such a timeline, without modern machinery, signifies an unparalleled dedication of manpower and royal will. By comparison, many contemporary U.S. infrastructure projects, despite advanced technology, often face delays stretching over decades due to regulatory hurdles, funding debates, and labor disputes. To grasp the physical scale, the Blue Mosque features a main dome 43 meters high and 23.5 meters in diameter, with 4 semidomes, all encompassing a massive prayer hall. Its total footprint, including courtyards, spans approximately 64 by 72 meters. Compare this to a modern American architectural marvel like One World Trade Center in New York. While the skyscraper is vastly taller at 541 meters, its direct footprint is smaller, optimized for verticality. The mosque's expansive ground-level design, for congregational worship, represents a different spatial philosophy. Consider One World Trade Center, completed in 2014, with a reported cost of $3.9 billion. This figure encompasses land acquisition, design, engineering, materials, and unionized labor wages. The project navigated extensive environmental regulations, safety standards, and insurance liabilities, factors largely absent or vastly different in the 17th-century Ottoman context. The U.S. project's cost also includes advanced technological infrastructure, seismic resistance, and sophisticated security systems, elements unimaginable in Sultan Ahmed I's era. Directly converting 17th-century Ottoman gold altın at a modern US dollars is fraught with methodological difficulties. Economist Dr. Kenji Tanaka cautions against simplistic conversions, stating, "You're comparing apples and oranges across vastly different economic paradigms." The value of labor, raw materials, and even the role of infrastructure in a pre-industrial agrarian empire cannot be directly mapped to a post-industrial globalized economy. Any comparison requires careful contextualization, recognizing the fundamental shifts in economic systems and societal priorities. Beyond financial ledgers, the Blue Mosque carried significant social costs. The scale of conscripted labor, as widely reported by contemporary chroniclers like Evliya Shelebi, meant a diversion of agricultural and artisanal manpower, potentially impacting local economies and food production. Taxation levied to fund such imperial projects, though not solely for the mosque, added burdens on the populace. This represents a transfer of wealth and labor from the masses to a central state project, a form of societal costs not always quantified in historical accounts. In the modern US, large-scale projects like major infrastructure or stadium construction also incur social costs, albeit differently. Displacement of communities for highway expansion, eminent domain disputes, and environmental impacts on local ecosystems are common. While monetary compensation exists, the disruption to lives and communities is a tangible, often immeasurable, cost. Public funding for sports arenas, for example, often sparks debate over whether taxpayer money could be better spent on schools or hospitals, reflecting contemporary societal trade-offs. Sultan Ahmed I commissioned the mosque not just for religious devotion, but as a direct assertion of imperial power, especially following a costly war with Austria. Its grand scale was intended to rival the Hagia Sophia, previously converted from a church to a mosque. This political capital was a cost in terms of resources diverted from other state priorities, but it yielded immense propaganda value. A modern US equivalent might be the symbolic cost and value of federal buildings or national monuments, projecting national identity and governmental authority. Architect Sadefkar Mehmed Aga, a student of the legendary Mimar Sinan, brought significant innovation to the mosque's design, harmonizing traditional Islamic and Byzantine elements. The mosque's cascading dome system and 6 minarets were highly influential. This investment in architectural genius, beyond mere construction, shaped future Ottoman building. In the US, iconic structures like the Gateway Arch or Frank Lloyd Wright's Falling Water similarly represent significant investments in architectural innovation, pushing boundaries and defining eras, though perhaps with different funding models. The Sultan Ahmed Mosque has stood for over 400 years, a testament to its robust construction and continuous maintenance. While initial building costs were high, the long-term value generated through centuries of use and cultural preservation is immeasurable. Maintenance, funded by state and religious endowments, has been ongoing. In contrast, many modern US buildings, particularly commercial structures, are often designed with a shorter lifespan, sometimes 50 to 100 years, requiring significant renovations or even demolition and rebuilding within a century due to changing economic priorities and construction techniques. Consider a major US highway bridge, costing hundreds of millions or even billions of dollars, with an expected design life of 75 to 100 years. While impressive, this is a fraction of the Blue Mosque's longevity. The cost of such infrastructure includes not only initial construction but also ongoing, substantial repair and replacement budgets. The Federal Highway Administration reports that a significant percentage of U.S. bridges are structurally deficient or functionally obsolete, indicating the immense recurring cost of maintaining modern infrastructure. The Blue Mosque was financed through the Imperial Treasury, a centralized system where the sultans will dictate resource allocation. Funds came from state revenues, taxes, and possibly spoils of war. This top-down model contrasts sharply with modern U.S. financing, which often involves a mix of private investment, public bonds, corporate loans, and government appropriations, all subject to market forces and democratic oversight. The cost in each scenario reflects vastly different political and economic philosophies. The real cost of the Blue Mosque transcends monetary figures, encompassing its profound cultural and spiritual value. For centuries, it has served as an active place of worship, a center for Islamic learning, and a source of national identity. This intangible value is immense. In the US, while churches, synagogues, or mosques certainly hold spiritual value, there are fewer equivalent national structures built solely for religious purposes with the same scale of public investment and continuous cultural resonance over 400 years. Our national monuments often serve secular civic functions. Today, the Blue Mosque is a major tourist attraction, drawing millions annually and generating substantial revenue for Istanbul through tourism. This modern economic impact, while not part of its original cost, represents an ongoing return on investment. According to the Turkish Ministry of Culture and Tourism, the mosque contributes indirectly to hundreds of millions of dollars in economic activity each year. This echoes the economic value of major tourist sites in the US, like national parks or iconic city landmarks, which also serve as economic engines for their regions. Environmental impact was not a central cost consideration for a 17th-century Ottoman sultan, at least not in the modern sense. While quarrying and timber felling had local effects, the concept of sustainable sourcing or carbon footprint was millennia away. Contrast this with contemporary U.S. construction, where projects are subjected to rigorous environmental impact assessments, seeking to mitigate ecological damage and promote sustainability. The cost of adhering to these regulations, from material choices to waste management, adds significantly to modern project budgets. Workplace safety standards during the Blue Mosque's construction were rudimentary by modern measures, leading to an unknown but certainly high number of accidents and fatalities. This human cost was simply an accepted reality of the era. Modern U.S. construction, by contrast, operates under stringent OSHA regulations, with extensive safety training, equipment, and protocols. These measures, while saving lives, add significant costs to projects, including insurance, safety personnel, and specialized gear, reflecting a fundamental shift in societal valuation of human life and labor. Ultimately, the real cost of the Sultan Ahmed Mosque cannot be reduced to a single monetary figure. It was an imperial investment in faith, power, and lasting legacy, paid for with vast financial resources, immense human labor, and societal burden. Its longevity and enduring cultural impact represent a return on investment that few modern projects, even those costing billions, can claim. The comparison with U.S. buildings reveals not just different financial scales, but fundamentally different cultural values, labor ethics, and visions of what a structure is truly meant to achieve and how long it should stand.